Find out which guitar brands belong to Fender and which to Gibson. There are several reasons why a large company decides to take over smaller companies. These interests may include the company's own expansion, eliminating competitors, gaining access to new markets or to qualified personnel who worked for the absorbed company, and having its patents at its disposal. The commercial agreements and conditions between different brands belonging to the same corporate group can be variable. It can easily be the case that the only existing relationship between these brands is merely that of having the same owner. Sometimes the company absorbed by another manufacturer continues to be treated as a completely independent company. Consequently, the partially merged brand may share neither personnel, strategy nor management with the main brand. One of the largest corporations in the manufacture of guitars, electric basses and other related products is the group of companies belonging to one of the most popular brands, Fender. One of Fender's main subsidiary brands is well known to many, Squier. This brand was once part of the CBS group of companies, and from the 80s onwards it was in charge of developing guitars and basses with the same appearance as the models registered by Fender, but at a more economical cost. The Squier brand manufactures its products in Asian countries in order to compete with other Asian brands that produce their instruments at a lower cost while maintaining a very competitive level of quality. But Fender did not stop there and acquired numerous companies in the future, eventually becoming a giant corporation. In the late 1970s, the Charvel and Jackson brands were merged, but Charvel had to stop making guitars with a headstock similar to Fender's after being sued by Fender Corporation. Today that is no longer a problem, as both Jackson and Charvel belong to the group of companies controlled by Fender Musical Instruments Corporation. Consequently, Charvels were refitted with their Fender headstock for the enjoyment of the brand's fans. So Fender has two iconic brands in the development of the hard genres of music, and it also has EVH brand. The brand Fender uses to develop Eddie Van Halen's most iconic guitars and great high-gain amps under EVH brand. Fender is not well known for its semi-acoustic electric guitar models, but what many people don't know is that Fender controls one of the most prestigious brands in guitars of this style. This iconic manufacturer is Gretsch. Both parties reached a business agreement in 2002 in which the Gretsch family would retain ownership of the brand, while Fender would be responsible for development, distribution, and sales. Also currently part of the Fender Corporation is the legendary Bigsby vibrato. These companies are the ones that are part of Fender Musical Instruments Corporation today, but at other times it also controlled other companies. For example, Fender would take over electric guitar and bass manufacturer Hammer in 2008, but the corporation would confirm in late 2012 that the company would cease operations. An institution in United States developing acoustic and semi-acoustic guitars as Guild, it was owned by Fender since 1995. Until 2014 when Cordoba Music Group bought the rights to the brand. Of course, the Gibson company also has its own business empire. For example, Epiphone is to Gibson what Squier is to Fender. In 1957, Gibson acquired the New York company founded by Greek Anastasios Stathopoulos in 1873. In 1915, Anastasios died, and his son Epaminondas, known as Epi, took over the company. He adds the diminutive of his name Epi to the new name of the manufacturer, and Epiphone is created in 1924. But after the death of Epaminondas in 1943 and the death of Phrixos Stathopoulos in 1957, they finally give Gibson Guitar Corporation the opportunity that same year to take over the brand from one of its competitors. Nowadays, Epiphone is in charge of manufacturing the most popular Gibson models, but at a more economical price. And obviously, to offer an acceptable product, or even good quality at a good price, Epiphone moved its production to several Asian countries during its trajectory, in order to increase its competitiveness in the market. The Kramer brand of electric guitars and basses was well known in the 70s and 80s, mainly for marketing instruments for hard rock and heavy metal musicians, and developed with Kiss bassist Gene Simmons, his famous axe-shaped bass guitar. The brand continues today, as a division of Gibson Guitar Corporation. Another manufacturer that belongs to the Gibson group of companies since 1986 is Steinberger, a pioneer in the development of headless guitars and basses to reduce the size of the instrument to a minimum. This improves handling due to its low weight and at the same time facilitates transport and storage. Gibson also owns the Tobias brand of electric basses, although these models are sold through Gibson's subsidiary brand Epiphone, known as Epiphone Tobias or Epiphone Toby. Something similar happens with the Dobro brand, also known as Epiphone Dobro, a brand famous for the development of resonator guitars, currently owned by Gibson and manufactured by its subsidiary Epiphone. This brand is so closely associated with this type of guitar that resonator guitars are generally also known simply as Dobro, regardless of the manufacturer. This low-cost subsidiary brand thing doesn't only happen between Gibson and Epiphone, or Fender and Squier. For example, the Music Man brand, which today belongs to Ernie Ball, has a low-cost subsidiary called Sterling. Or for example, ESP has its Ltd subsidiary to offer its customers a product that is balanced between quality and price. But not all manufacturers use this same strategy. Some brands place their products in different series depending on their quality, and keep the original brand name for their low-cost products as well as for their high-end instruments, as it can happen in brands like PRS or Ibanez.